Hello and welcome everyone. Today is a special day. We're going to be talking about Buildship V2 and the launch. So we have the CTO of Buildship here, and we're going to be talking about all the features today and what you can be doing with this incredible platform. There's a link down below to check it out on Product Hunt, which just launched today. First of all, who do we have with today? Who do we have the pleasure to be with?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Shams, co-founder and CTO of Buildship. Today we're launching V2 of Buildship, which is repenting our sins of and fixing all that.
You know what? I love it. That's quite an intro. Can't wait to see it. We're going to be seeing all the things that you can get. By the way, I always say this is not a joke. My favorite merch in the game, Buildship doing some great things. If anyone has been following the show for the last 4.5 years, you know how much I enjoy Red Bull. To see this kind of merch, it makes my heart rejoice. So, Thomas, we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about all the things from Buildship V2. And then also we're going to be test driving some of the things that we can see with Buildship as well. So where should we begin right now?
So the first thing we have to do is we have to upvote the product. So currently it's V2 as number 2. So I don't know if we should just release V1 again and that would make it 1, but we need to make it number 1. So that's step 1. And then I think we can go through what we fixed. So I think the big thing about V2 is making it less confusing. So I think we did a lot of work to make it more easier to understand. So we have this. So we have a homepage now that helps you see what's going on. So there's like how many flows you have active, how much you've stored, and the team members. And it helps you get started with different things that you could use it for. So Buildship is a backend builder, so it helps you build your apps backend. So either if you're using any front-end tool and you want somewhere to manage your database or manage your keys and make secure API calls to services like OpenAI or Claude or anything else, you can use Buildship to have that as proxy, as well as building that logic of your business. So it helps you in, I think, simplifying your front end as well. So the way I think about it is making your front end simple in terms of like focusing on the visual element and then keeping the back end as the way where you're focusing on what you want the business to do, right? So I'll close this guide and then we'll start from scratch. And then we'll do.
Shams, as you're starting, could you just explain to the people what are people? Could you give me like 1 or 2 use cases what people are building? So if they feel like this is too much for me, I'm too overwhelmed. Could you give like 1 or 2 examples what people are building to change their business?
Basically anything that you don't want to happen on the front end. So for example, if you want to call OpenAI, you shouldn't do that on the front end. You need to put that on your back end because OpenAI has like a service key. So you shouldn't put that on your front end. That's one thing. Another thing is if you need to do that logic. So we'll do some examples, and I think like if you build an app and you start building a lot of things that you're thinking about, like, oh, I want to do, for example, I want to do something every day, and I want to do that, like do an operation every day. You can't do that on your app because you can't expect your user to open your app every 3 days, right? You don't know when they'll open your app, so you can't do that kind of thing. So that's something that you could do here. Things like that, as well as we have a database as well, in terms of like storing your data and managing that. You can't do that on a front end. And basically, it's a full backend to power whatever app or automation that you're building for your business.
Awesome. So if I'm hearing this correctly, if I'm trying to automate all the boring things that I'm doing repetitively, I could be doing this. And this is just a guess, but I want to ask. Some people might say, well, I might just use Zapier or something instead. Am I guessing that I can do a lot more intricate things or customized things with Buildship? And I'm assuming it's probably going to be cheaper to run what I want to do with Buildship than Zapier. Are those two assumptions correct?
100%. So I think like Zapier is like a fantastic start. So it's really simple to use, and it lets you connect different things quickly. But I think it originates from like an operation perspective rather than a business perspective. So as a business, you want to build infrastructure that you're able to scale. So, and scaling is a lot to do with how much you can process and also the cost. So in terms of cost, it's as part of V2 release, we optimized the cost to be a lot simpler. So we used to do hours processing, so how much time that computer used, but a lot of people found that a little bit confusing, and that's something that I want to go into in terms of V2 is about making things a lot simpler. So what we did is make the pricing a lot more intuitive in terms of like each node is going to cost you 1 credit, and then you can see here it's like this is going to cost 1 credit, and this is going to cost and then you can see how much you're spending on your project, right? So that's something that we're trying to clarify. And then in terms of comparatively pricing it compared to Zapier, on the normal plans, it's usually around 20 times cheaper. So let me see if I can open the credits. So you can see here. I'm not sure how much Zapier costs for $10 million. 10 million credits or something like 2 million credits. You can check, but that's how much you can compare to. I think this
150. Wow.
Really, yeah. So on Zapier, this credit is the same as an action, similar. So it's probably like $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So both of those things are very appealing to me. Being that cheap. Okay.
And then so like I think for even more than that, we do offer cloud billing. So if you do, let's say like you start small and then you're like, okay, but eventually I'm going to have 1 million users, and those 1 million users are going to cost me like a lot of requests and a lot of credits. We do offer for bigger projects to pay for the underlying Google cloud billing, but then that like you can transition to that later. So that's something that's really core about Buildship. It's about being able to start simple and build things small, and then when you want to scale, you can talk to us and we can help you scale your setup.
I love it. We're going to be going in, but real quick, we have one question from the audience, if you don't mind answering it, and then we'll go into the build. Is that okay? We're talking more?
Yeah.
The question was when Sophia's asking, I'm using Buildship with Flutterflow. My one question is, does streaming the AI assistant work on a web app?
Yes. So I think so. I'm not sure about how Flutterflow works. But I can show. Let me try to build something quick. So if we have a streaming, so this is a stream response, right? Let's say message. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Let's say message, and we pass in the message as the prompt. So here you have access to variables, and then these are the inputs. So I can clarify here. So basically a workflow now is comprises of inputs and outputs. And basically, we think about it in terms of this is what our workflow is, and it's independent of what you're going to connect it to. So we'll get into that later, but you have to think about like, okay, this is what the workflow does, and then I'm happy with it. So we have testing here. You can try it and see how if it works well for you. And then once you're happy with it, then we can think about how are we going to actually connect this to the rest of the world, right? So we have, for example, we have a chat widget, which we can connect, and basically you can copy that component into your web app, and it will allow you to stream text. So if I go here, you can see like we have a chat widget, and then we can start playing with it. Or if you're building it on Flutterflow, then all you need is a REST API call, and once we connect that on whatever front end you're using, as long as they accept a stream response, then this will automatically manage that for you. So you don't have to do anything on Buildship side. This is automatically. So since this node is already returning a stream response, this automatically moves it forward, passes it forward to the front end, and all you have to do is, as long as the front end processes streams, it will work.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for answering the question. Sorry we got off a little bit on a tangent, but this kind of showcases some of the new things. But yeah, Shams, show us more.
Yeah, so I think like we went ahead, like we did a bit quick, but it's there's the inputs. So they define, it's more of like we're trying to make it into a function. So the whole workflow is a function, and a function has inputs and outputs. So similar to a node. So the node has inputs here. We try to simplify a lot in terms of like hiding away these things when you don't need them, but when you need that additional like complexity, you have access to the things like temperature and model, which is more like trying to optimize how your generation is working. And then even further than that, you like we had in the old version, in the previous version, since it's one of the principles of Buildship, is being able to access the code. So that's something that you don't get on Zapier because of it's more focused on simplicity, but what we want to be able to provide is just something that's simple as that, but when you need it, it becomes as powerful as a full code backend. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, no, I know you're going to be building something in a second. I've been teasing it. What should we start building this now? Should you go more into the features and what the new design is? Where would you like to go?
What would you like? Up to you. I think we can. I was gonna show a demo to show how far you can go with Buildship.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let me start with. So I already pre-built it so that we get the idea. Let me try to find the link for. So we built a quick. We generated the V0 front end for it. So are you seeing my?
I'm seeing a detective game right there.
Yeah, so we'll start with the demo. I think that's the most fun part. Give me a theme for a detective game.
Ooh, a theme for a detective game. Can we? Oh man, you put me on the spot. Should we do like a Victorian style? Should I say like Sherlock Holmes style? What do you?
Yeah, up to you.
Okay, we're gonna do a detective game like Sherlock Holmes in Victorian time. Yeah. The other side was too obscure. What I was gonna say. This is great.
Sure.
And as you're doing this, what are you using right here? What are we doing?
So this is a quick way to like Buildship is only backend, so we don't have a front end to show it. So I basically pasted in So this whole workflow, I can show you, can go through it, but basically there's so there's this game where you put in a theme. I'll explain it.
No worries.
Yeah, let me explain. So there's a theme. So like we showed here. So we have the theme here, and that becomes part of the REST API. So the REST API call is the part that we're exposing the backend to the rest of the world. And then here we're passing in the theme from the request, and then if we get data, actually this gives us the last request. So if you see here, so that helps you verify that you're getting that that correct data, and then we can even like select it here and update the input to connect it. And that means if you're using something like Flutterflow, you can build your how you want to imagine you want to send that data to your backend, and later come here and then send that request in and then get what it looks like, and then it will automatically feed in. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we have a demo here. So it generated the title, an image, and then an intro. Can you hear the? I had to pause.
Can't hear, but
I had to pause it.
to do it, you would have to share your screen that you're using, and then select a tab. But
Okay.
we'll add it if we can find it. We'll add this music. This is great, though. This is awesome.
Okay. Okay. So I think it's finished, but basically, it generates. You can hear it from my microphone, right?
A little bit, yeah. It's muffled, but we know that there's sound, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we don't actually generate the voice. I'll show it later, but what Buildship does, it orchestrates the different parts of this. So if you think about this game, it's generating the schema of the game. So here I'll do a quick demo. So there's an instruction. So there's a JSON generator. So this uses OpenAI, and we give an instruction in terms of this is what I want to create. And then as I was building it, for example, sometimes it was generating the alibi that I wanted to create for the character in third person. So I had to like add a rule, right? So that's something that you do in like back and forth in terms of like trying to get the AI to do exactly what you want it to do. So it's something like that, trying to like fix it to get the AI to generate an alibi that is in the character's voice. And then here I did a big one here. Wonder if it structures it. It did a, let me see. Like, I'll just go quickly over it, but basically it's the JSON schema of we're describing what we want from the AI to give us. And that helps us if we're building a front end, we want to have a predictable text. So unlike, with ChatGPT, it only gives you one text block and you're able to only show it as a text or a stream. If you want to build an experience that's more interesting, you want structured data so you can render different elements in the UI. So for example, we have the card here, and then we have the victim card here, and then we have the different suspects here, right? So that needs structured data. So that's why we're giving what our specification of that JSON is, and things like that. So that's basically the JSON schema. And then if we go in, so one thing that you can't do on something like Zapier is something like this, where you're able to like coordinate different actions in parallel. So if we have a look at this whole story, this whole game is able to be generated in 45 or 30 seconds, sometimes 35 seconds, right? By doing things in simultaneously. So one thing we're doing here is, for example, we're generating that that victim image. So we use something like Replicate, which has a lot of open source models. So here we're using the Flux Pro Ultra model, which is new and really good. So it's able to, given that that JSON is generated from the GPT, it's giving us. Let me see if I can show it. It's giving us that character illustration prompt. So here, if I go to the editor, I can see the prompt is an illustration of character illustration prompt, right? So that helps us passing that information forward. And this is not something that you need to do yourself, even though you can, but we do provide these nodes in the library. So you can go ahead and like find the right integration, and you have the different models, and we have the Flux Pro Ultra image generator. So, and then something like one other thing that you need Buildship for is something like Replicate. They want to focus on inference, which is generating the graphic card intensive process of generating either an image or a voice or a text, generating it, but they don't want to store the image for you and host it. So that's something that Buildship offers you. So you can take that image, which is like a temporary URL from Replicate, and then you can pass it to Buildship upload file node. So these are all pre-existing nodes, but what I did to make it better documentation in terms of if someone's looking at it, all I do is I change the label. So there's no upload victim image node, but there is upload file, right? So we have this upload file node. So that's basically what this is. And this gives us a permanent URL that we can use in our front end. And then here, so we talked about we have things running in parallel to optimize. So we have like something like in this game, we're generating 3 different suspects. So what we could do is we can loop through the suspects. So it uses a loop node. So that goes, and you can go in for each suspect, you can generate the character image. And then for each suspect, you can generate the alibi, right? And then you also have this built-in Firestore. So what we do is you're able to store that generated game. So let's say, for example, we want to be able to get some like free users can play pre-generated games, and that doesn't cost us anything. And then only paid users can generate games, right? So something like this, when we're storing this game, it means that we can serve a lot more users for a lot cheaper rather than generating the game from scratch each time, right? And all this data is stored in the database. So I'll open that quickly. Open.
Tom, since you're doing that, could you tell me a little bit more details on? I've never seen this kind of game before. What kind of game is this? Do people ask to like play? Like, is there a role playing game that you play with friends? Tell me more about this. I don't really know.
So this is actually like I was building this at like 4 a.m. yesterday, testing out how far I can go with the. So I still don't know how to play the game. So I haven't figured that. Like we can build it more, but basically so far there is the victim, and there's like the different things, and I think maybe like you can guess, or you can vote how to like who's the murderer. right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on the thing. There's also so I still haven't figured out how that game ends. So we'll figure it out. But basically, all these are the generated games that we stored, and then we can like build another workflow to retrieve these games, right? So, and for example, we can see here, this is all our database. And for example, something we haven't implemented in the UI yet is there are these hints that we need to show the player that this person is, they have these different extra information that we can figure out what the user is, who the real killer is, right? And then I think one thing that we're really excited about is this keys here. So this helps us in terms of like making it really easy to add nodes and experiment. So once I've added a replicate node, it asks me for a key. So I already added it to this project, but all it does is that we're able to like show this thing, and then you can like click here to go to replicate and find that key and paste it in. And then next time you want to use this replicate node, it will automatically select that key. And then like something that we're thinking in the future ahead is being able to have different keys for different environments. So if you're using a production environment versus if you're using a testing environment, you'll be able to use a different key for that. So I had one of my 11 lab keys running out of credit, so I had to add a new key. Things like that.
In the game that you were just showing, it was playing it. Is that how you were able to do like the audio? You were using 11 Labs with that too, so it was just creating all the voices. Love it.
Yeah. So the core integrations we're using here. So let me make this bigger actually, so we have more space. So the core things that we're using here is OpenAI to generate the text, Replicate to run the Flux model, and 11 Labs to generate the audio. And here, like same thing. It's like I want to narrate. As soon as I have a piece of information, I want to be able to generate the content for it. So I'm generating the intro here. I'm generating the image, the victim image here. And then I have to do the loop. So the loop is going through the suspect and being able to generate in parallel is the same thing. It's like, I don't want to wait for Replicate to finish generating the image before I'm able to generate the audio, right? That will make my game a lot slower. So it would take probably like 5-10 minutes to be able to generate the whole thing if it was built one by one, right? So that's something that is really powerful about Buildship. And then once we have all these elements, I was able to like create these different outputs that I want to structure how my JSON is gonna, how my front end is gonna receive it, right? So I want to put an intro, I want to put a title, and the cover image. And if we see here, let me check. Yeah, so we're able to like copy that and be able to, for example, let me see. So let me show you. Let me close this away. So with this one, Farini actually made it. We're able to just copy example execution and paste it into this V0 to generate the front end. And that's all we have to do to like build this, right? I think that covers most of it. Any questions? Did I go over anything too fast that you want to go
I think
double click or anything?
Well, I think what I see is just the potential of there's just so many different things. So, number one, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing that Buildship, I could be using this for my business, for things to automate things that I keep doing manually. But I'm also seeing some really cool ideas. For me, if I was trying to create either something for fun or like a side hustle, I could see that with Buildship. When you're doing this, the thing that jumped out from me is we have a lot of people that are dungeon masters that do
Yeah.
D&D and they get paid to do these quests. I'm like, when you showed me that, I'm like, oh, this would be perfect. They could
Right.
tweak it, do all of those things. So that's number one. I didn't know how much people get paid to be dungeon masters. I didn't know this, but we were in Paris and someone said there was a guy that I met there. He
Yeah.
charged and did that over Zoom during the pandemic. And
Oh,
and so when you showed me that,
can
I'm like,
only
oh,
sell
he would
that during
love
the
this. What do you say?
you can only sell that during the pandemic. So.
You might still be doing that. I'm just telling you, this is what people are doing, making money. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that. I have another. This is something maybe just let me know. We don't have to do it today, but as we're talking about this, this is what I was struggling with, and maybe Buildship might be able to help me with this. Okay, so
Sure.
I'm going to lay it out real quick, and we'll talk about it. So
Sure.
this is for creators. This is for YouTube creators, and this is the problem that I have. So I'm going to go into my analytics for a second, and I'm going to show you. And if this isn't a great use case, just let me know. But I'm going to share my screen in a moment. Okay, I'm going to show you before and after, and we'll kind of talk about it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And by the way, we have so many people on Twitter. I'm seeing DMs. People are hitting us up on YouTube, on Twitch. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, in the chat, there's a link for you to upvote Buildship for V2. Don't forget to do that. There's going to be the link over there. And make sure if you have questions about how you can use this for your own business, make sure you listen. You've got Shams right here. You've got a professional, an expert right now. So make sure that you ask your questions in the chat. We get tons of questions about how to integrate this with WeWeb, Flutterflow, all those things. This is this is your chance right now to get your questions answered. So, real quick, I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll kind of talk about this, and maybe we'll find a solution. Maybe we won't. Maybe, but I'm confident that you will. Okay, so this is what my issue that I have is. Okay, this is YouTube Studio, right? In YouTube Studio, you get all of your information about your channel, what's working, what's not working. In the past, you see where it says export? It says you can export all of this information to like a Google Sheet, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to export it in a second, and we'll open in a new tab. This is my problem. This is my problem. Manually, for a long time, I've been putting filters where I've been looking at like average view. Basically, I'm ranking it. So I'm seeing what's working, what's not working. I know myself and tons of creators pay people monthly to do this charting and to tell me what video is doing well, what video is going wrong. Maybe we'll talk about it offline, but this is what I would love to have automated, that I can once a month export my Google Sheet and run the report that just tells me like, hey, this video is doing over 55% viewed. This is over 4 minutes. I need to do like, and it also tells me my click-through rate. If I knew those 3 metrics, I would know what video I need to make next on my channel. That's the biggest thing. The problem is, I don't know what happens. Every time I try to import it and I like copy and paste it into Google Sheets, all my filters never work. Every time I'm filtering a certain way, it just falls apart. And I end up having to do this manually every single month. And I just stopped doing it. I'm like, I know this is important, but this is driving me insane. Do you think something like this, where we could import a CSV and then Buildship could just give me like my top 25 videos? This is what it is. Something like that?
Maybe. I think like for me, it comes to thinking about this 2 ways. It's, can we build a YouTube integration to get that data. Like that would be like having that from the source. And for example, like I showed earlier, it's like being able to automate it completely. Like that's something that I would want to explore first, and then trying to integrate with Sheets would be like a second option in terms of like trying to like partially automate it, right? So I think we could start with trying to integrate with YouTube. Let me see what we have. So I mean, do you have a project set up?
I can.
I think like if we can try, or we can do another stream, up to you in terms of like, I think it'll be like, I think we could do over another stream. If you have like,
we don't have to do it right now. It's you know, that was just something I've been, and you answering the question just be like, you're thinking about it wrong. like I'm trying to do that one, but it works. Yeah.
So I think like you could do it, but like it's always like thinking about, like, let me see what we can do. So
no worries. We can do this on next stream. We can do this on next stream. No worries.
Let me see what we have already. So we have like a fetch YouTube videos. Let me see how that works. So I haven't used it. So I think this one, I think this one uses, so this one uses the Google APIs. But we can do YouTube auth, but I think that it does, like, for example, if we go to YouTube APIs, I think it's, and then we can look at the different reference in terms of like what does it give us, and then if it does give us, that helps us try to narrow down how we're going to build it, right? So it's a lot of things is not about, like, let's build it straight away. It's all like planning and thinking about what is possible, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. No, that's my biggest thing that I was thinking about. And
do it.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is, for next time, we'll schedule it, because this is my goal. If I can do that, right, and we can do that on the back end, I guess the next thing is displaying it, right? And have you done using any like text to apps, like Data Button or anything like that, to integrate Buildship with any of those things? Or have you heard of Data Button?
No, what is that?
It's kind of like, a lot of people, it's like Marbleism. Let me just show you.
Sure.
I think connecting it to, I don't know if we could connect it, but I think it can. Hold on one second. Let me show you. I'd love to see if trying to connect it to Buildship. Okay, so there's this thing that I'm messing around with called Data Button. So you can just basically type in what you're looking to create, and it does it. I'm in the midst of building out a curated database, and it's React on the front end, it's Python on the back end, and you're just typing out what you're looking to do, and then it will create it. So let me show you what I've got so far. So I did like discover your perfect side hustle, and I did this with text, and then like right here, get started, it will ask you to, well, this is embarrassing. I'm working on something, but it will say it will connect with Stripe. You can either pay for it or sign in. So I connected it to Firebase, but the database, you can connect it to Firebase for the database, but I bet I could connect it to Buildship on the back end instead.
So I think like what's interesting as well, so you could do that as well as if you're already using Firebase. So we do have a Firestore nodes here. So for example,
let me switch over to you.
If you switch over, so I'll delete this. And so for example, so what we could do is with Buildship, it's really easy to connect your own Firestore. And the way we do it is because it's Buildship itself is on GCP, so it makes it really easy to let me see. So do we have documentation? So we do have a setup guide on how to give Buildship. So we have, like, if you look here, we have a service account here, which is like the identity of your project or of your like workflows, and you're able to give on GCP. You can give it the permission to be like, okay, I want you to access Cloud Data Store, which is the GCP name for Firestore. And by doing that, you're able to do everything you can do on like a Buildship database, you can do on your own Firestore. And if you remember, Roe is like similar to this. You can connect your Firestore to Roe and be able to see this visualization and do automations here.
Wow. Okay. All right. Here's some things we got to do. Okay. So remember, everyone, we're going to be back. We're going to be talking about these things because I think this is really interesting. And again, we're looking for different ways to solve problems for your business. If you're looking to create a micro SaaS, all these different things, you can be using Buildship as the back end. Yeah. All these different things are right here. Oh,
I can. So I think, like, if we want to build a specific thing, I think it is like we do need to do a little bit of research. But in terms of things we could do on Buildship, is like just like on Firebase. If you're using MongoDB, which is another popular database, you could trigger workflows from here. If you're building a business and you need to process transactions, you have Stripe, and that's something that you can add your Stripe key. So similar to a node, you can add a Stripe key, and all you have to do is specify which event you want this workflow to trigger on. So if someone pays, if someone hasn't paid, things like that, you can do automations to your database or send them an email. So like, for example, we have different like resend, we have SendGrid, and even Gmail. So you can send out, for example, using your personal email to your user, say, hey, you haven't paid, right? That would convert.
I love it. Really good stuff. Okay, so we're going to do a playing session, talk about how we could be using it, and then we're going to come back and showcase some of the things for Buildship in an upcoming stream. Okay, awesome. Before we get you out of here, man, could you tell the good people, what would you like them to do? Would you like them to subscribe? What would you like them to do right now?
So I think like we said, the most important thing today is feed today. So we'd really appreciate the support we can get here in terms of the upvotes, and in terms of, I think, definitely give it a try, and we're very open to feedback. So we have the free plan, which is very generous in terms of being able to test things out, and we have a lot of templates to try as well. So there's a lot of things for different use cases. So it's definitely sign up and check out the new templates and the new experience. And I think if you found Buildship harder before, I think we did a lot of work in terms of trying to make it a lot simpler in terms of like thinking about it. I think maybe we didn't go over a lot of the stuff in terms of making testing a lot easier. So I think if we what did we do? So yeah, so like in terms of being able to see what happened in terms of all the, so with like this becomes more complex, you need to be able to drill in and see, okay, why did my game not work, right? So being able to see exactly like these are the different inputs, these are the different outputs. So a lot of things to explore and try out.
I love it. I love it. Remember, everybody, check out everything going on with Buildship. Upvote, make sure you like, talk about it, all of those great things. And we'll make sure that this is something that you can be using for your next project. Ask questions, all of those things. Shams will be back soon. And again, thank you everyone for your support, for everyone watching live. And if you're watching on replay, make sure you do hashtag replay, and we'll make sure that we'll answer all of your questions. All right, everybody, take care and have a great day. Talk to you all soon.
Mm-hmm.